Have you ever asked yourself why happiness feels so far away when life gets heavy? Why in the middle of struggle, the simple idea of joy feels almost impossible to reach? That question lives inside every one of us. Because life, as you know, is fair. It doesn't wait until you're ready. It doesn't pause when you're tired. It doesn't soften when you're already broken. Life presses on hard and unrelenting, and it often feels like it leaves no room for happiness. But here lies the truth most people never realize. Happiness is not found in the absence of struggle. Happiness is discovered in spite of it. You see, many people fall into the trap of waiting for their lives to be perfect, waiting for money to be right, for relationships to heal, for pain to disappear. They believe happiness will arrive once the storms pass, but storms never stop coming. If you live waiting, you will wait forever. The secret, the hidden power, is that you can push yourself to be happy even while you are still in the middle of your storm. And that single choice can change everything. Think about this for a moment. Your mind is the battlefield where joy and despair fight for control. When you allow circumstances to dictate how you feel, you give away your power. You hand over your peace to whatever is happening around. But when you decide, even in pain, even in loss, even in struggle, to choose happiness, you take that power back. You become the master, not the victim. And that shift in thinking is what separates those who remain stuck from those who rise. But let's be honest, this is not uneasy. Happiness in hard times isn't natural. The natural response to pain is sadness, to loss is grief, to struggle is despair. Yet human psychology holds a hidden weapon. When you consciously choose a different response, when you smile in the middle of tears, when you hold gratitude in the middle of lack, when you keep hope in the middle of hopelessness, your brain begins to rewire itself. Science calls this neuroplasticity, but in simpler words, it means your mind can adapt. It can learn to find light even when surrounded by darkness. Imagine carrying a heavy rock on your back. At first, it crushes you, slows you, makes you feel weak. But if you keep walking, step by step, your body grows stronger. The weight that once broke you builds you. This is exactly how happiness works in hard times. The more you push yourself to seek joy, the stronger your emotional muscles become. Until one day, the same struggles that once buried you will no longer control you. Instead, they will have trained you into someone unshakable. And here's where it gets even deeper. Happiness is not just a feeling. It's a form of courage. It is a declaration that life cannot steal your spirit. When you smile in pain, you're telling the world, you cannot break me. When you choose gratitude in loss, you're showing life that you are bigger than your circumstances. And when you continue walking forward with hope in your heart, even while everything around you screams despair, you are winning a war that most people lose. But why does this matter? Because your life is shaped by the state of your mind. If your thoughts are heavy, your life will feel heavy. If your thoughts are hopeful, your life will carry light. Happiness is the filter through which you experience reality. Without it, the same world looks dull, empty, and hopeless. With it, the same world shines with meaning, even when nothing has changed on the outside. Now, I want you to hold this truth close. Happiness is not a reward at the end of the road. It is the fuel that gives you the strength to keep walking the road itself. And this is why you must push yourself toward it, even when life is hard. Because waiting for joy is surrendering to pain. But creating joy is reclaiming your power. If you stay with me until the end of this message, you will discover something even more powerful. Not just why happiness is possible in hard times, but how to ignite it inside yourself step by step. A perspective that will not only carry you through struggle, but help you rise above it. Because happiness is not just survival, it's transformation. This is the opening truth. Life is hard. It always will be. But happiness is not lost. It is within you, waiting, ready to be chosen. And once you make that choice, even when everything else feels broken, you'll realize that happiness was never about a perfect life. It was about the strength to rise above an imperfect. Every person you see carries a weight you cannot see. Behind the smile, behind the calm voice, there are silent battles. Struggles that keep them awake at night. Regrets they don't speak about. Fears they keep locked away. Life is heavy, and for many that heaviness feels endless. When responsibilities pile up, when losses cut deep, when dreams seem out of reach, happiness feels like a luxury meant for someone else. But here's the truth most people overlook. Struggle is not a punishment. It is proof that you are alive, proof that you are still in the fight. Every hardship you carry is shaping you, testing your spirit, and calling you to discover a strength you never knew you had. Yet when you let struggles define you, they become chains. Chains that tell you happiness is impossible. Chains that whisper you are too broken to rise. The human mind tends to magnify pain. One bad moment can overshadow 100 good ones. One failure can blind you to years of progress. This is how struggle takes control. It convinces you that your story is only about pain, but the reality is different. Struggles are not the whole story. They are only chapters, and chapters are meant to move forward, not trap you. Think about the heaviest moments of your life. You thought they would break you, yet here you are, still breathing, still standing. That means struggle did not defeat you. It trained you, It gave you resilience. It carved out patience. It showed you that no matter how hard life presses, you can still rise again. Happiness in hard times does not mean ignoring struggles. It means refusing to let them own you. It means carrying the weight with courage, instead of letting it crush your spirit. Because the weight you carry today is not proof of weakness. It is proof that you are strong enough to endure. And when you understand this, you begin to see happiness not as something stolen by struggle, but as something made stronger through it. Struggles are heavy, but they do not decide your future. What decides your future is the choice you make in the middle of them. Every day, you stand at a crossroad, to surrender to pain or to rise above it. This is where the power of choice reveals itself. You cannot always control what happens around you, but you can always control what happens within. And that single decision, repeated again and again, is what shapes the quality of your life. Think about this. Happiness is not handed to anyone. It is not a gift wrapped by life and placed at your door. It is built, it is chosen. Even in the hardest moments, you can choose your response. You can choose to see light when the world shows you darkness. You can choose to keep faith when everything looks hopeless. That decision may feel small in the moment, but over time it transforms everything. Psychologists have found that when you decide to focus on gratitude instead of despair, your brain releases chemicals that lift your mood and strengthen your resilience. This is not magic. It is science. The mind begins to follow the choices you make. And when you consistently choose happiness, even when it hurts, your brain learns to see possibilities where it once only saw pain. Most people wait for life to improve before they allow themselves to be happy. But waiting is a form of surrender. The truth is, joy is not something you stumble upon. It is something you fight for. And the greatest weapon you hold is choice. You may not choose your hardships, but you can choose how to carry them. You can choose to let them build you instead of break you. So when life feels unbearable, remember this: happiness is not out of your reach. It is one decision away. The decision to rise, to see beyond the pain, to hold on to hope when everything tells you to give up. That is the power of choice, and it belongs to you. When you understand the power of choice, the next truth becomes clear. Your mind is stronger than your circumstance. Life can take away comfort, stability, even people you love, but it cannot take away the way you choose to think, and that is where real freedom begins. Most people allow their outer world to control their inner world. If life is calm, they feel peace. If life is chaotic, they feel broke. But the strongest people live the other way around. They build a mind so disciplined that even when the world outside shakes, their spirit stays steady. This is not denial. It is mastery. It is the ability to separate who you are from what you are going through. When pain strikes, the natural reaction is to collapse under it. But the mind has the power to transform pain into purpose. History is filled with people who endured the unthinkable yet refused to let suffering define them. Their circumstances were dark, but their thoughts created light. That same strength exists in you. Psychology teaches us that the brain adapts to repeated patterns of thought. If you focus only on what you've lost, your mind will keep replaying loss. But if you train it to focus on what remains, what is possible, and what can still be built, your brain begins to shift. Your reality may not change immediately, but your perspective does. And perspective is what turns despair into hope. Every hardship you face is an invitation to practice this power. You cannot stop storms from coming, but you can decide not to drown in them. You cannot control the weight you must carry, but you can control whether it crushes you or makes you stronger. Circumstances may shape the path of your life, but your mind determines the quality of your journey. So when life feels overwhelming, remind yourself, the mind is the greatest shield. Build it, strengthen it, trust it. Because once your mind learns to rise above circumstances, no force in life can truly defeat you. When the mind learns to rise above circumstances, the next step is to recognize the power of small wins. In the middle of struggle, it's easy to believe that only big changes will bring happiness. We wait for life to transform overnight, forgetting that strength is not built in leaps but in steps. And in the darkest days, those small steps are what keep you moving forward. Think about how the human mind works. It thrives on progress. Even the smallest sign of improvement can shift your emotions and create momentum. When you celebrate tiny victories, waking up when you didn't want to, finishing a task you've been avoiding, speaking kindly to yourself in a moment of doubt, your brain registers success. That success builds confidence, and confidence fuels hope. This is how light begins to break into the darkest corners of life. The problem is that most people ignore these little victories. They tell themselves it doesn't matter unless it's big. But that thinking keeps them blind to the quiet progress already happening. The truth is, one small win can be enough to change the direction of a whole day. And when you gather enough of those days, you change the direction of a whole life. Imagine being lost in a tunnel with no end in sight. Bang! The darkness is crushing. But then a faint light flickers ahead. Not the full escape yet, but it's enough to give you hope, enough to remind you that there is a way out. That is what small wins do for the. They are reminders that even in the middle of pain, life still offers moments of strength, moments of beauty, moments of. So when life feels too heavy, don't wait for a massive breakthrough. Look for the little things you can achieve today. Focus on what you can control right now. Because happiness in hard times is not about giant leaps. It's about finding the courage to take one small step forward again and again until the path ahead becomes clear. Small wins give you strength, but many people still fall into a dangerous trap, the trap of waiting. Waiting. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect situation, the perfect version of life before allowing themselves to feel happy. They tell themselves, when this storm ends, then I'll smile. When I have more money, then I'll be at peace. When life finally gets easier, then I'll be happy. But this is an illusion, and it steals years away from people who deserve joy right now. The truth is, there is no perfect moment waiting ahead. Life will always carry struggles, setbacks, and new challenges. If you believe happiness only exists when life becomes easy, you will never reach it. Because ease is temporary, there will always be another problem, another mountain to climb, another storm to face, and if you keep waiting for life to change, happiness will remain out of reach forever. Human psychology reveals something powerful. When you postpone joy, your brain wires itself to constantly delay satisfaction. You train your mind to believe happiness is a distant goal, never a present reality, but the opposite is also true. When you allow yourself to be happy now, even in small ways, your brain learns that joy is possible in any circumstance. This is how resilience is born. Imagine carrying a heavy bag on a long road. If you keep telling yourself, I'll rest only when I reach the end, you will collapse before you ever get there. But if you pause, breathe, and find small moments of relief along the way, you'll discover the strength to keep moving. Happiness works the same way. It's not the reward at the finish line, it's the strength that allows you to reach it. So stop waiting for tomorrow to give you permission to live. Happiness is not a destination, it is a decision you make today. The sooner you break the illusion of waiting, the sooner you discover the power of being alive in this very moment. And that moment, no matter how heavy, can still hold joy. Once you stop waiting for the perfect moment, you begin to see happiness for what it really is. Not an accident, not luck, but a discipline. Just like the body grows stronger through training, the mind grows stronger through practice. Happiness is not about what happens to you, but about the habits you create inside yourself every single day. Think of discipline as the anchor of the soul. Without it, emotions toss you around like waves in a storm. One bad day can ruin your spirit. One harsh word can steal your peace. One failure can crush your confidence. But with discipline, you build an inner foundation that nothing outside can shake. You train your mind to return to balance no matter what chaos surrounds you. Psychology shows that habits shape identity. What you repeat, you become. If you repeat anger, you become bitter. If you repeat gratitude, you become joyful. If you repeat hope, you become strong. This is why happiness cannot be left to chance. It must be practiced. Every time you choose to focus on one thing you are thankful for, every time you choose to speak kindly to yourself, every time you choose to see opportunity instead of defeat, you are training your mind. Slowly, happiness stops being a fleeting feeling and becomes a natural state. Discipline is not about ignoring pain. It is about building routines of strength inside that pain. It's waking up and deciding to move even when you feel like staying in bed. It's choosing to smile at yourself in the mirror even when you don't believe in yourself fully. It's finding one reason to keep going even when the world gives you 1,000 reasons to quit. Happiness as a discipline means you don't wait for life to hand you peace. You create it, you practice it, and over time it becomes who you are. Because when happiness is built on discipline, no circumstance can take it away from you. It becomes unshakable, unbreakable, and deeply yours. When happiness becomes a discipline, pain no longer feels like the enemy. Instead, it becomes fuel. The very moments that seem designed to break you can actually build the strongest version of you. Pain is a teacher that speaks a language most people try to avoid, but those who listen discover that it carries the lessons needed for growth, resilience, and inner power. Think about the hardest experiences of your life. They changed you. They shaped the way you see the world. They stripped away illusions and forced you to confront who you really are. In those moments, you found parts of yourself you never knew existed. Strength you never thought you had. Endurance you never believed was possible. Pain has a way of revealing the hidden power within you. Human psychology tells us that the brain is wired to protect itself from suffering. That's why people run from pain, numb it, or bury it. But when you face it directly, when you allow yourself to walk through it with courage, it transforms. Pain becomes wisdom. Pain becomes clarity. Pain becomes strength. The very struggle that once made you doubt yourself becomes the proof that you can survive anything. It is in darkness that the human spirit often shines brightest. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Muscles are built through resistance. Trees grow deep roots because of storms. And in the same way, your pain can carve you into someone unshakable. Instead of asking, "Oh, why me?" begin asking, "Oh, what is this pain trying to teach me?" That shift alone turns suffering into growth. Happiness in the middle of hardship is not about pretending everything is fine. It's about knowing that even in the deepest pain, there is purpose. Every tear, every setback, every scar carries meaning. And when you learn to turn that pain into strength, you realize something powerful. Life can hurt you, but it can never defeat you. When you learn to turn pain into strength, the next step is to see the quiet power of gratitude. Gratitude is not only for moments of comfort. Its true power is revealed in moments of struggle. It may feel impossible to be thankful when life feels heavy, but this is when gratitude matters most, because gratitude doesn't erase pain, it shifts the way you carry it. Human psychology shows that the brain cannot hold fear and gratitude at the same time. When you focus on what you still have, the weight of what you've lost begins to feel lighter. Gratitude doesn't deny suffering, it gives you balance with it. Even in the storm, there are anchors, a breath in your lungs, a friend who cares, a lesson you've gained, or simply the strength to rise again today. These may seem small, but they are reminders that not everything is broken. Most people wait until life is perfect to feel grateful, but perfection never comes. If you only see what is missing, life will always feel empty. But if you train your mind to notice what remains, life begins to feel full, even in difficulty. Gratitude transforms the ordinary into enough, and it turns survival into strength. Imagine standing in the rain without shelter. At first, you only feel the cold, the discomfort, the weight of the storm. But then you notice the ground beneath your feet is steady. You realize the rain is feeding the earth, preparing it for growth. Gratitude works the same way. It doesn't stop the storm, but it opens your eyes to see meaning inside it. Happiness grows when gratitude takes root, because gratitude teaches the mind to focus on life, not lack. It reminds you that even in the hardest times, there is always something worth holding on to. And when you practice gratitude in the storm, you discover a truth few ever see. Joy can exist even in the middle of pain. Gratitude opens the door to perspective. But there is another truth just as important: how you treat yourself in hard times. Too often, people believe they must be harsh with themselves to stay strong. They punish themselves for mistakes, criticize every weakness, and demand perfection while already carrying heavy burdens. But self-punishment does not build strength, it drains it. What truly builds resilience is self-compassion. Think about how you would comfort a close friend who is struggling. You would not tell them they are worthless. You would not demand they hide their pain. You would remind them they are doing their best, that it's okay to fall, and that they are not defined by their struggles. Now ask yourself, why is it so easy to offer kindness to others, but so hard to offer it to yourself? Your psychology reveals that self-compassion lowers stress and builds emotional endurance. When you are gentle with yourself, your mind relaxes and begins to recover. Harsh criticism keeps you stuck in shame, but kindness gives you the strength to rise again. Self-compassion is not weakness, it is inner healing. It allows you to acknowledge the pain without drowning in it, to admit your flaws without being crushed by them, and to keep moving without carrying unnecessary guilt. Life is already heavy. Do not add weight to your own shoulders. Speak to yourself with the same patience and care you would give to someone you love. Forgive yourself for falling and celebrate yourself for rising. This practice rewires the mind to see value instead of failure, progress instead of perfection. Happiness in hard times requires this gentleness. Because when the world feels hard, your heart needs a safe place. And the safest place should be within yourself. Treat yourself with compassion, and you will find the strength to endure storms without breaking under them. Self-compassion gives you the strength to stand back up, but what truly shapes your future is the courage to keep moving. Life's hardest moments often tempt you to stop, to freeze in place, or to give up entirely. The weight of failure, loss, or disappointment whispers that you cannot go on. Yet the truth is, forward motion, no matter how small, is what keeps the soul alive. Courage is not about feeling no fear. It is about moving through fear. It is not about waiting until you feel strong. It is about taking steps even when you still feel weak. Every act of persistence, no matter how simple, is an act of courage. Waking up to face another day is courage. Refusing to quit when everything tells you to stop is courage. Choosing to try again after failure is courage. Psychology shows that momentum builds confidence. When you move, even in small ways, your mind registers progress. Progress creates belief, and belief fuels strength. But when you stay stuck, the opposite happens. Doubt grows, fear spreads, and the weight of inaction becomes heavier than the original problem. This is why movement is so powerful. It reminds you that you are not defeated, that you are still in control of your story. Think of a river. When it keeps flowing, it carves valleys, moves stones, and shapes landscapes. But when it becomes still, it turns stagnant. Your life is the same. The act of moving forward step by step is what reshapes your future. It doesn't have to be fast. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to continue. Happiness is not built in one leap. It is built in the courage to keep taking steps no matter how small. Each step forward tells your mind and heart, I am not finished. I am not broken. I am still moving. And that truth alone can carry you through the darkest days. The courage to keep moving leads to something greater. The realization that happiness itself is a form of quiet rebellion. In a world where pain is constant, where negativity shouts louder than hope, choosing happiness is an act of resistance. It is refusing to let circumstances dictate your spirit. It is standing tall when life tries to bend you. It is saying without words, I will not be broken. This revolution doesn't happen on battlefields, it happens in the silence of your own mind. When you choose gratitude instead of bitterness, you are rebelling. When you show kindness in the middle of cruelty, you are rebelling. When you smile through tears and find reasons to keep going, you are rebelling. The world expects you to surrender to pain, but every act of joy proves that your spirit cannot be controlled. Psychology shows that emotions are contagious. When you hold happiness in hard times, you not only lift yourself, you influence others. Your resilience becomes a mirror for those around you. Your refusal to be defeated gives others permission to believe they can rise too. Happiness spreads not through noise but through presence. Not through noise and this presence can shift the atmosphere of an entire room, even without a single word spoken. Think of the strongest trees. They don't fight storms with loud defiance. They stand firm in silence. Their strength is shown not by shouting, but by simply refusing to fall. Happiness in hardship works the same way. It doesn't need to prove itself. It just exists, steady, unshaken, untouchable. This is why happiness is more than a feeling. It is a silent revolution. It is the quiet strength that says life can be harsh, but my spirit will not surrender. And when you live this way, happiness becomes more than survival. It becomes a statement, a legacy, a force that inspires others to rise with you. When you understand happiness as a silent revolution, you realize it is not just about surviving hard times, it is about transforming them. Life will never be free of struggle. Storms will come, losses will hurt, and challenges will test you. But within every storm lies a choice, to let it break you or to let it build you. Happiness is the decision to rise again and again, no matter how many times life tries to push you down. This is not about pretending pain doesn't exist. It is about refusing to let pain define your life. It is about recognizing that even in darkness, light can still be found. Even in weakness, strength can still grow. Even in endings, new beginnings are quietly waiting. Happiness is not the denial of reality. It is the courage to create meaning inside reality. Remember this, the happiest people are not those who live without problems. They are those who carry problems with resilience, gratitude, and hope. They are the ones who choose to smile even when they have every reason to cry. They are the ones who continue to walk when the road feels endless. And they are the ones who remind the world that joy is not dependent on what happens, but on how you respond. So if life feels heavy right now, hold this truth close. You are not powerless. You have within you the ability to shape your mind, to shift your perspective, and to rise above what tries to weigh you down. Happiness is not far away. It is not waiting for a perfect tomorrow. It is here in this moment, in the choices you make today. Carry this with you. Every time you choose happiness, you are choosing life. You are choosing strength. You are choosing to stand tall in a world that wants to see you fall. And that choice, repeated again and again, will not only change your days, it will change who you become.